With Velocity Micro. Today, I'm going to tell you how to take all of the panels off, front and back, of your Velocity Micro PC, whatever the model. There will be timestamps in the description to skip to your model, and if you don't see your model there, then feel free to check out the video in the description for our last video on our prior models of PCs. Now, all of these PCs are, at least their panels are held together with Phillips head screws and these little ball joint sockets. I'll show a little B-roll of them right now. You'll see that there is a ball on top of a stem, on top of a larger stem. Now, that stem gets slotted into a slot on your PC. They're periodically placed around. There are about a dozen per each side, and they hold them in quite nice. Some of the panels are just held in with those sockets, and they're plenty solid. But other panels are held in with those sockets in tandem with screws for extra security. So I'll let you know where all of those screws are, as well as show you where all of the ball joint sockets are. On the front panel here, there are no screws. We're just going to be dealing with the ball joint sockets. Now, you have to be a little brave. It's going to take some pressure. We're going to have one hand on each opposite corner. It could be however you like. I like it like this so you can see. And we're going to, just with a little bit of pressure, remove all of the sockets from their places. Lovely. All right. So there you go. Easy. It is that easy. You don't need a ton of force. Sorry if there are some prints on it. Now I'll just show you how to put it back on. So we're going to line up those sockets. You can see there. I like starting with the bottom first. Might be a little bit finicky coming back on, but once you get it lined up, there we go. Beautiful. All right, and I kind of like doing it like a Ziploc bag. There we go. Lovely. And feel free to kind of hold your computer down while you're doing this process. Beautiful. All right, that's all it takes. Front panel is super easy. The back panel is the same diff, but we're going to have two Phillips head screws. I'm going to show you their location. They're at the top and bottom. Let's get this turned around. Here with the back of the GX6, GX6 Plus. We have this screw here, and we have this screw here. I'll highlight them individually. I'm going to start with the top screw. Now, it shouldn't be torqued on there, and when you put it back, you shouldn't torque it on there. Lovely, and the magnetic screwdriver really helps here, as well as if you're doing anything else with your computer. I highly recommend it. Saved my life more than once. All right, now, same process. Screws are gone, and we're gonna, one hand on top, one hand on bottom. I'm gonna create some distance there. Ziploc bag, boom. And this should just come off on its own. Lovely. There are all your wires if you need to wire anything in, if you want to add an extra drive, extra whatever. Same as last time, we're just going to slot this back in. Let's line up the bottom. Lovely. Okay, and 1, 3. So, just like that. Get them on your magnetic bit, ideally. If not, I like to get a little tensile strength using just my thumbs in the actual threaded hole. Of course, magnetic screwdriver really makes this easy. Beautiful. That's all it takes. And that is the GX6 and the GX6 Plus. Not too many differences between the two cases. One's just a little bit wider, so panels should be identical. All right, let's move on to the next case. Here we have the MX5 case. It's going to be a little bit smaller than our GX6 and GX6 Plus cases, but it is going to be the same situation as them. We're going to have sockets in the front and sockets as well as two screws in the back. So, one hand on this side, one hand opposite. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure separating that panel from the chassis of the computer. You're going to hear that first pop. I like to take it up, just running my finger along only so deep as to separate, not to actually touch the sockets. It's okay if you do, it's just ideal if you don't. There we go. Lovely. There you can see it. There's the panel itself. You can see how those line up. And there are the sockets around. I'll let that hang so you can see the sockets. I'll even highlight them on the screen. All right, now I will set this aside and we can do the back. On the front, you're gonna have access to all of your hardware components, video card, RAM, cooler, that kind of thing. And here on the back, you're gonna have your wiring. So if you're putting in a new hard drive, you'd be wiring it here. Now, these screws shouldn't be torqued on. A very strong person put this one together, but you're going to want to be careful with these screws. A magnetic screwdriver really helps. Really small screws. The ball joint sockets will be doing most of the work here. Stick around and see our NX2 case. It's actually ball sockets. So, here we go. One hand in the corner. Separate it from the chassis. It's got a little bit of a pulling motion. I use the thumb for leverage right here. And slide it around the edge. You'll see each of the sockets pops out, and right about here, it'll just want to come off on its own. So all that wire out, you can do here. As you can see, our techs did a lovely job, but right now, we're going to put it back together. So I'll give you a second to see all of the sockets there. And I'll line this up with the bottom. So, there we go. Lovely. Push that in. Again, kind of a Ziploc bag situation. Beautiful. There you go. And now we have our two screws. Hopefully you've got tensile strength there between the threads of the screw and the threads of the socket. And then I like to come in with the screw. And lovely. There you go, that's the back panel. I'm going to swing this around and we'll get the front. Alright. Again, no screws on this one. We're just going to line it up and slide it in. Bottom one's lined up. I like to line those up first. And it should start coming in on its own. Just like that. Beautiful. That's the MX5. It's all put together, back to normal. And next, we're going to do the NX2. So finally, we have the NX2, which is our smallest case. Some NX2s have a window in the front. It's the same process if you have a window or a solid panel. Now, this is one of my favorite cases because more than just the front and back come off, and they're all ball joint sockets, every single one of them. No screws involved, and you can take them off with just a little bit of pressure. Now I'm gonna move you guys a little bit closer so you can get a better look at what I'm talking about. So here we have the start of the show. Now, one hand here, just a little bit of pressure. And this thing will maybe buck a little bit while you do this. It's a smaller case, and also this one is not built, so it's not gonna be weighted like yours is, but off comes the front panel. Now, you see a little hardware in there. It's just because it's a new case, so they're just parts, wires hanging. Yours will not look like this, but the process of taking off the panels is going to be exactly the same. So I am gonna set that aside so you can see how it looks with all of the panels off. Now, remember this, where this goes. It's gonna go right in the top left where you would start reading these labels. This one's really firmly in there, but again, same process. I'm gonna do a little bit of this number. This is how I usually do it. Just like a Ziploc motion is the best way. And there's also a tab if you're thinking straight, unlike me, but there you go. Same thing. That's what it looks like. I'm gonna go ahead. See, there's a gap right there. You can just give it a little bit of force and go from one edge, go to the other, just like that. Comes right out. Again, same system right there. You can see all of the sockets. This time the sockets are actually on the panel itself, and the ball joints are on the chassis. Finally comes the top. There are a few points of contact along this side and along this side. So we're gonna give it a lift. Just again, just kind of getting it under there. A little bit of pressure. This one isn't as tough as the other ones. And make sure the handle is down for this, or you're gonna knock it on the way up. But there you go. boom. There are a few at the front here. There's actually just one, but also two on the same sides. And in the back here, there is no contact. So I like to start from the back because you can get a little more leverage. So this one's easy enough to line up. The panel of the I/O in the front just lines up with the hole in the top. There we go. And one side, other side, make sure that center one is down. Perfect. Let's take a look at the front. So once again, this one's easy, Velocity Micro logo on the bottom. And you're gonna slot this in like this. There we go. And make sure that the top is lined up with the top. That's a mistake I often make. Aren't many contacts in this one, but it is a really firm fit. There you go. And that is pretty solid in there. You can always double check. Here's the back panel itself. You're gonna line up the bottom. And remember what I said. This label should be right where you would start reading it, like a page on a book. And I'm just gonna go around, slot it in. Lovely, just like that. At the front, there's the panel, so you can see it again. And we're gonna want the bottom grate to line up at the bottom. So, I'm gonna slot these in. Bottom first, just gonna roll it up, and then boom, run along, top, sides, bottom, and you're good to go. That's all three cases that we regularly stock. So a few things to go over before I leave you. You probably got a lot of thumbprints on your case by this point, taking off all the panels, especially for the first time. So the way you get those off is by getting a microfiber rag and some Windex. I'll show some B-roll right now. You're gonna spritz the microfiber rag just a few times, get it wet, and do a small circular motion in the affected areas. We have more posts up on our blog if you want to read more on our systems or the newest cards and technology coming out for these computers. And outside of that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.